Hey guys, Angry Beast here, bringing you some domination gameplay on the map CeeLo. And I start off the game using the BAR here. We're in the middle of a spawn trap, and I die a couple times, and I switch up to my anti-tank class, because that's just how this map seems to play. I like using my anti-tank role, and I'm getting a little bit into that a little bit here. Now, let's talk about this class right here. This is arguably one of the worst classes for a close quarters combat map in the game. This is a class that excels in a long-range map with tanks. It's plain and simple. I'm using one of the worst close-range weapons in the game, the shotgun, which is actually kind of ironic because it is a shotgun. As you'll see later on in this game, this thing gets a crazy ton amount of hit markers, and you're lucky to even get a kill with this thing while you're freaking aiming with it. And it seems like this weapon is a lot better from the hip than it is when you aim down sights with it, which is unfortunate, but, you know, what happens, happens. It's one of those weapons that has extremely low damage, but it is a shotgun, so it does have its merits. It's okay for crowd control, but considering the fact it has such a low rate of fire, I definitely wouldn't recommend it for any type of aggressive role. It's more of a defensive weapon, a situational weapon at that, and it's a very difficult to manage weapon. But when you use it on a map like this, what you really want to do is you want to try and use the tanks to your advantage, and that's what this class is all about. It's my anti-tank and tank core class. That's pretty much what it is. I have satchel charges on here to destroy the enemy tanks. I got fireworks on here so I can kill people easier with the tank. Like right there, I didn't know exactly where he was up there. I just shot a random shot from my tank up there and he just blew up into bits. And that's what fireworks really does for you. It's one of those perks I only would recommend if you're using the tanks. Any other situation, it's really not going to help you because it doesn't affect grenades as much as Sonic Boom did in Call of Duty 4. Or danger close to the new tubes in Modern Warfare 2, so it's only really useful with the tanks because they're the only things that have a real major blast radius that will be increased with fireworks, and you'll get a significant more amount of one-hit kills, as well as your lethalness against enemy tanks is improved as well. My vehicle perk in this game is, I believe, Ordnance Training, which lets me reload my shells faster, which is critical when using a tank. The faster you can get off those heavy shells, the sooner you'll be able to get kills on opponents. And one thing I think that people miss when they're using tanks is to use the gunner seat frequently. I see very few people actually swapping seats into the gunner seat to kill off infantry units that are beyond the reach of your main gun, or who are inside a building, because that's what the coaxial machine gun is for. It's meant to be swapped to and shot off at people who you really don't have time to kill with your main gun, and it's especially useful against infantry who are rushing your tank to destroy it with satchel charges of their own or sticky grenades. The easiest way to kill a tank in this game is either use your own tank against an enemy tank, which is arguably the fastest way to kill it, or you can use satchel charges and a sticky grenade. I believe it takes 2 satchel charges and a sticky grenade to completely destroy a tank if it's at full health. So you can pretty much destroy it instantly with this class, and that's what it's really designed for. It's designed as more of an anti-tank role than anything else, and trying to use it in a close quarters map, or even a long-range map, is just a nightmare. Unless the map has tanks, I definitely wouldn't recommend this class, because the shotgun, as I said, is very difficult to control, and if you can get a consistent kill streak with that thing, I'd say you're a god at this game, because I played a good 10 games with this gun, and I really couldn't get anything more than a 2 KD with it, and the kill death ratio in this game isn't all that. I think it's less than a 1, but I really picked this game because of a couple funny moments at the end. I destroy a guy with my satchel charges right as he's about to knife me, as well as I just like to show off how certain weapons in certain situations really don't fit. You'd think a shotgun be a massive, really awesome close quarters weapon, but it really isn't. It suffers in almost any gunfight you throw it into, and considering the fact that its only major advantage is the fact that you can run at 100% speed compared to a rifle or a machine gun, it doesn't have that many advantages, and it's very connection based, and don't get me wrong, right there, I really thought I should have had that guy. I shot him twice, and I tried to knife him, and he still wasn't dead. But he's not hacking, it's just my connection was pretty bad in this game. That's unfortunately one of the problems with this game right now. Not too many people play it, and that really saddens me, because it's one of the better Call of Duty games in the series, as it has some of the best combinations of large maps and small maps. I mean, you have maps like Dome, which are crazy small, and just non-stop action, and you have maps like this, which are some of my favorite maps. I love big maps when it comes to gameplay. The only thing that really ruins big maps is when you got people sitting in a corner with a light machine gun or a submachine gun. And that doesn't happen too often in this game because everybody knows that the submachine guns are king. And when a submachine gun's king, you always have people moving around. When games start to slow down is when they have the rifles and the assault and the light machine guns being the most powerful classes, and you have people playing defensively because that's where those things shine. Because the MP40 is so good in this game, I think it really helped to improve the pace of games, especially on maps like this. You think that this map would be nothing but snipers and light machine guns sitting back and picking people off, but it really isn't. This map is a very rush-friendly, close-quarters map, which doesn't seem to fit considering the fact that it's a very wide-open tank-based map, but it just plays in such a way that people don't like staying still in this game. And that's something that's really changed over the course of Call of Duty. I've said before, said it time and time again, that map design has really struggled throughout the past couple releases of Call of Duty. It's one of those things that's difficult to get right, you know. Everybody wants a fast-paced game. There's no denying that. Fast-paced is what makes Call of Duty fun. However, the balance has to come in and rebalance fast-pacedness with the ability to play defensive and still be effective. Because everybody wants to play different, you know. If I want to play defensive, I always tank to my advantage and pick people off of flags, and I have to be able to do that. They can't make the assault rifles completely terrible in a game, but they can't make them all powerful like they have been in the past couple games like Black Ops. The assault rifles were all people using that game, simply because they were the best. The submachine guns had very little power in that game, and it really took away from their effectiveness. Modern Warfare 3 did a pretty good job of weapon balance, but unfortunately the maps are where that game really fell apart. Baccarat is one of those maps, for example, that really has bad spawn mechanics, and we combine bad spawn mechanics with a map that just is wide open and it's a lot of snipers across back and forth. It really doesn't seem like it plays that fast pace like the rest of the game does, and it's a lot of spawn trapping really, and that's a difficult place to be. Every map is going to have its spawn traps. There's no such thing as a perfect map, because in a perfect map what you'd have consistent spawns, but impossible to spawn trap. The only way they could really be implemented is if the spawns in the game were implemented on a different playing field than the rest of the map. So if I spawned in on an elevated platform above the map where grenades and explosives couldn't get through, and I jumped down onto the rest of the playing field, then it might be a little bit fairer. I mean, if I could sit above and wait for an opening to come and then rush make my movement in the rest of the playing field, it'd be a little bit different. But considering the fact that all the maps are pretty much the same in this and that, you spawn on the same platform as your enemies, and there really isn't too much else you can do about it. It ends up being a lot of spawn traps, which are okay to a point, but when all you do is spawn trap with the party, it really detracts from the value and the quality of the game. Because when you do play solo like I do, I almost never play with friends or whatnot. That's simply because I just don't take the time to. I think that the party system is flawed on Xbox. It's difficult to get people in the game, to say the least, and I don't know what they could really do to improve that, but that's a commentary for a different time. But the game is winding down. I just want to say that tanks really add something to a game. You know, this game had something unique in that it had the tank warfare. And while I'm not all for the battlefield vehicle, everybody has their own kill streak method, I think the tanks made it so that it was a very good mix. You had the artillery and you had the dogs and stuff, which you can get as kill streaks, but you also were rewarded for playing careful defensive gameplay in a tank, and that added a different level of a gunfight to the game. It wasn't no longer just gun-on-gun action. You could use a gun against a tank, and that's one of the things that the shotgun actually shines at. It's one of the most powerful weapons against the tank, because every fully automatic weapon, except for the PTRS sniper rifle, does, I believe, 1 damage to a tank per shot. However, the shotguns shoot 8 pellets, as most of you know. I believe it's 8 pellets in this game. They shoot different pellets, so it can do up to 8 damage to a tank, which doesn't seem like much considering the tanks have 1,350 health. But it can really, really kill a tank if you needed to, and that's why this is an anti-tank weapon. If you take kit, and if you want to use it against people, you're best off using something else. But anyways, guys, gameplay's over. It ends up being 18-13. Not the most impressive score, but I think it was a pretty good comeback, all things considered.